Welcome, political science students. We are welcome to the third semester political science. As you know, this course for political science major students, this course is divided into 5 units, and unit 1 is organs of government. The instructor for this unit is Mr. G. Ramesh, Assistant Professor, Department of Political Science, St. Joseph's College for Women, Autonomous, Visakhapatnam, Andhra Pradesh, India. Learning outcomes. The fourth chapter of this unit is Judiciary, Powers and Functions. By the end of this chapter, the learner should be able to understand the organizational structure of the judiciary, comprehend the importance of judicial independence, identify the various powers vested in the judiciary such as judicial review, the interpretation of laws, recognize the judiciary's role in the system of checks and balances, and finally analyze the key functions of the judiciary. Content. This unit, that is organs of government, is divided into 4 chapters, and the 4th chapter is Judiciary, Powers and Functions. The content of this chapter are Judiciary, Introduction, Role of Judiciary, Powers of Judiciary, Functions of Judiciary, Types of Judiciary, the judicial process, and finally conclusion. Now let's go into the lesson. Look at the judiciary, powers and functions. The judiciary, powers and functions. The judiciary is the custodian of the constitution. In India, the Supreme Court and High Courts have the power to interpret the Constitution. Judiciary can declare any law passed by the legislature as invalid if it violates the Constitution. Hence, the judiciary is above any other institution. The judiciary is the branch of government responsible for interpreting and applying the law. It serves as a check on the legislative and executive branches, ensuring that and government actions are consistent with the Constitution. The judiciary is the branch of the government that interprets the law, settles disputes and administers justice to all citizens. The judiciary is considered the watchdog of democracy and also the guardian of the Constitution. The judicial process is a cornerstone of any functioning legal system. It provides a framework for the resolution of disputes, the protection of rights, and the administration of justice in a society. The judicial process serves as a critical instrument of social ordering within a society. The judicial process is a cornerstone of any functioning legal system. It provides a framework for the resolution of disputes, the protection of rights, and the administration of justice in a society. The judicial process serves as a critical instrument of social ordering within a society. The judiciary is considered as the watchdog of democracy and is that branch of the government which interprets the law and settles disputes between the people and government. The judiciary has the power to penalize those who are found guilty of contempt of court. This authority of the court is seen as effective protection of the judges from the unfair criticism. Parliament cannot discuss the conduct of the judges except when the proceeding to remove a judge is being carried out. The judicial system provides a mechanism for solving disputes between citizens and the government, between two state governments, and between the central and state governments. The role of the judiciary. Interpreting the law. Interpreting the law involves understanding, applying legal text such as statutes, regulations, and constitutions to specific cases and situations. This process is crucial for ensuring that laws are applied consistently and fairly. Judicial interpretation can influence how laws are enforced and understood over time. The judiciary interprets the meaning and applications of laws, statutes, and constitutional provisions. Judicial interpretation is an explanation of how the judiciary interprets the law. In common law, judicial interpretation is made up of guidelines that come from case law rather than from a legislature. These represent all previous judicial decisions. Dispute resolution. The courts provide a forum for the peaceful resolution of disputes between individuals, groups, and the government. Dispute resolution refers to the process and mechanisms used to resolve conflicts or disagreements between parties. It aims to find a solution that is acceptable to all parties involved and can be achieved through various methods, each suited to different types of disputes and contexts. The methods of dispute resolution is the negotiation, mediation, arbitration, litigation, etc. So the parties present their cases to the court. The judge renders a binding judgment based on applicable law and evidence. Formality. Court proceedings are formal and structured. They follow specific rules of evidence and procedure, ensuring a standardized and regulated process. Protecting rights. The judiciary safeguards the fundamental rights and liberties of citizens as enriched in the Constitution. In India, Indian Constitution, Article 32 of Indian Constitution guarantees right to constitutional remedies, namely right to move to Supreme Court to enforce fundamental rights. It is constitutional mandate of judiciary to protect human rights of the citizen. Powers of the judiciary. Judicial review. The power to review the constitutionality of laws and executive actions. Judicial review in India is a process by which the Supreme Court and the High Courts of India examine, determine, and invalidate the executive or legislative actions inconsistent with the Constitution of India. Interpretation of laws. The authority to interpret the meaning and application of statutes and legal principles. Judicial interpretation is an example of how the judiciary interprets the laws. In common law, judicial interpretation is made up of guidelines that come from case law rather than from a legislature. This represents all previous judicial decisions. Dispute resolution. The ability to settle conflicts between individuals, organizations, and the government. The parties present their case to the court, and the judge renders a binding judgment based on applicable law and evidence. Formality. Court proceedings are formal and structured. They follow specific rules of evidence and procedure, ensuring a standardized and regulated process. Functions of the judiciary: adjudication of cases, enforcement of laws, protection of rights. The judiciary hears and decides cases determining the rights and responsibilities of the parties involved. The courts ensure that laws are properly applied and that judgments are carried out. Protection of rights. The judiciary safeguards the fundamental rights and liberties of citizens as enriched in the Constitution. Types of courts. Trial courts. Trial courts that conduct trials, evaluate evidence, and make initial determinations of fact and law. These courts hear and decide cases in the first instance, determining the facts and applying the law. In the trial court, evidence and testimony are admitted under the rules of evidence established by applicable procedural law, and determinations called findings of fact are made based on the evidence. The court, presided over by one or more judges, make findings of law based upon the public law. For example, district court in the US, magistrate court in the UK are the examples of trial courts. And second type of court, appellate courts. The appellate courts that review decisions from lower courts to ensure they comply with legal standards. These courts review the decisions of lower courts, ensuring the proper application of the law. The power of the higher court to review the decision or change the result of the decisions made by the lower courts is called appellate jurisdiction. The Supreme Court in India is the highest court of order in the country. In India. For example, courts of appeals in US, high courts in various jurisdictions. Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, responsible for representing the constitution of setting precedents. The Supreme Court of India is the apex judicial body under the Constitution of India. Article 124 of the Constitution states that there shall be a Supreme Court of India. The Supreme Court came to existence on 26 January 1950 with the coming into force of the Constitution. The judicial process. Filing a lawsuit, discovery, trial. The case is initiated by a plaintiff who files a complaint with the court. Both parties gather evidence and exchange information to prepare for the trial. The case is heard by a judge or jury who weighs the evidence and renders a decision. Independence of the judiciary. Impartiality, separation of powers, tenure and compensation. The independence of the judiciary refers to the principle that the judicial branch of government operates free from undue influence or interference by the executive and legislative branches, as well as other external pressures. This independence is essential for maintaining the rule of law, ensuring fair and impartial justice, and protecting individual rights. Judges must remain impartial and make decisions based solely on the law and the facts of the case. The judiciary is a separate and independent branch of government, free from interference by the executive or legislative branches. Judges are typically appointed for life or long terms, and their compensation cannot be reduced, ensuring their independence. Importance of the judiciary. Upholding the rule of law, protecting individual rights, maintaining a balance of power. The judiciary plays a critical role in any legal system and is fundamental to the functioning of democratic governance. Its importance can be understood through several key functions and impacts. Upholding the rule of law. The judiciary ensures that no one, including the government, is above the law. Protecting individual rights. The court safeguards the fundamental rights and liberties of citizens as enriched in the Constitution. Maintaining a balance of power. The judiciary acts as a check on the legislative and executive branches, preventing the concentration of power. Conclusion. The cornerstone of democracy. The judiciary is the cornerstone of a democratic society, upholding the rule of law, protecting individual rights, and maintaining a balance of power. Its independence and impartiality are essential for ensuring justice and preventing the integrity of the legal system. A vibrant and independent judiciary is essential for any democratic to thrive. The judiciary in India ensures that there is a rule of law and that the rights of the citizens are not violated. It also keeps a check on the other two organs of the government, that is, the legislature and the executive. The judiciary is a critical organ of the government and it plays a crucial role in the efficient functioning of India's democracy. The answer to why do we need an independent judiciary is that this independence allows the judiciary to play its role in a non-biased or influenced manner. India has a single integrated judicial system. The judiciary in India has a pyramidal structure with the Supreme Court at the top. High courts are below the Supreme Court and below them are the district and subordinate courts. The lower courts function under the direction of superintendents of the higher courts. What have we learned? Understand the organizational structure of the judiciary, comprehend the importance of judicial independence, identify the various powers vested in the judiciary such as judicial review, the interpretation of laws. Recognize the judiciary's role in the system of checks and balances. Finally, analyze the key functions of the judiciary. Thank you. All the images have been copied from open sources on Google.